Let's bring in former Deputy Director of National Intelligence and former DoD, Department of Defense, Chief of Staff, Kash Patel, along with former CIA Station Chief and Fox News contributor, Dan Hoffman. Gentlemen, great to see both of you. Kash, this is chronic weakness that brought this on the United States, chronic weakness by Joe Biden. And I will venture to say that Biden allowed these U.S. soldiers to be injured and killed rather than upset Iran. Because why did it take, he tolerated 164 attacks on U.S. soldiers?
You're absolutely right. Look, I would call Secretary Austin and Biden cretins by the very definition of the word, but that's paying them a compliment. They're not stupid. They're not foolish. It's their intentional decision-making and disastrous national security policies that have now led to the deaths of 5 U.S. service members in the Middle East. Let's not forget the 2 Navy special warfare operators killed during an operation that should never have been authorized. And let's sequentially look at how this has all been played out. $6 billion to Iran, courtesy of Joe Biden. Iran's militia forces, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, and now Kataib Hezbollah, are launching 165 attacks on U.S. military installations and our men and women who wear our cloth to defend this nation overseas. And everyone's asking the question, how did we miss this one last night? We missed 165 of them because Joe Biden and Lloyd Austin think you can defend this nation by the bedside table of a hospital and lying to the world about your health conditions and hoping the media carries your water by having John Kirby going out there and saying, we don't want a war. Right now, Iran is dictating the mission set to us. And this Defense Department just last week said the Houthis will let us know when they want the bombs to stop. That is being told to the United States of America by a foreign terrorist organization. That's why we're on the rear footing.
You know, Dan, to Kash and Dagan's point, looking back, I think it's pretty fair to say this is foreseeable. These attacks and death of American servicemen was foreseeable. But looking forward, to think that the administration has come out and said, we don't want war, we don't want conflict, when Iran or their proxies have attacked Americans, they've killed Americans. Is that the right approach? I would say not. But how is that language perceived? That it's not a language of strength, it's a language of détente, which we've seen from history doesn't really work.
Yeah, I think we have to be intellectually honest with ourselves about what we're seeing. It's not the world we wished it were, it's the world as it is. And what Iran wants is to preserve their regime security. They want to destroy Israel. And they want to reduce or eliminate U.S. influence in the Middle East. It's that third point that's really been at odds with the United States policy, which has been to gain the release of the hostages in Gaza to prevent a wider war. And that's failed, while allowing Israel the opportunity to finish Hamas as a terrorist group. Iran knows that they can get away with all of these proxy terrorist attacks against us precisely because we don't want to escalate. And Iran right now owns escalation dominance over the United States. The last thing I'll say is that we've been at war with Iran essentially since we invaded Iraq in 2003. Off and on, they've been using their proxy terrorists to target us. I was in Iraq for a year when they were launching strikes on us and killing our servicemen and women. We had a brief respite when the Trump administration killed the IRGC commander, Qasem Soleimani, in early 2020. But right now, Iran is calling the shots here, and that's got to change.
You starve the beast, Kash. And the difference between, to Dan's point, strength and weakness is right here in one chart. Take a look at it. President Trump's maximum pressure campaign on Iran drove that country's oil exports into the ground. It was down to 400,000 barrels a day. Meanwhile, Joe Biden, in the appeasement campaign, allowed Iran's oil exports to soar. That chart is from the IMF. It's actually much higher how much Iran has been exporting in oil. It's at least 1.4 million barrels a day. That's according to Amos Hochstein. So you know it's higher. 1.5 million were going just to China last year. That was a record. This is at least $40 billion every year that Iran is using to fund attacks on Americans, Kash.
Look, you're absolutely right. And tragically, it shouldn't be a surprise. Remember, Obama and Biden are the ones that gave us the JCPOA. They're the ones that gave Iran a pathway to a nuclear weapon. They're the ones that said, we'll trust Iran when they say their nuclear weapons grade material isn't for nuclear bombs. Now they've got $6 billion from Joe Biden to go buy material from China and Iran. And remember what Donald Trump did. It was a multifaceted approach, not just enforce military operations to the maximum and allow kinetic offensive operations to take out terrorists, but also prioritize intelligence to collect against these targets, not prioritize intelligence for diversity, equity, inclusion, and white rage. And when you talk about oil, it brings up the third key piece to this sanctions node. We suffocated under the Trump administration the ability of them to trade oil. And like you just highlighted, the CCP, another adversary of ours, is aligned with Iran, selling them weapons and munitions, and now buying the most oil from Iran through criminal schemes around the world that they have ever done in their history. They got money, they got weapons, and they are ahead of us in terms of kinetic offensive operations because they are dictating to America for the first time in the world. And that all falls on Joe Biden. And thank you for reading the names of the fallen service members, something this president and Secretary of Defense couldn't even do with a teleprompter.
You know, Dan, on this show, we talk about a lot of politics, and it's a political season, but I want my president, because I'm an American, to do well. I want him to serve our country and make all of us proud, and I want Joe Biden to do well. But Democrats have, to Kash's point, this unique philosophy of the Iran deal. They gave the $6 billion back to Iran earlier this year, and to Dagan's question, you have the allowed oil sales, most of it going to China. What's happening with their philosophy? Why do they keep appeasing Iran? What do they hope to accomplish with the appeasement?
Well, Sean, I can tell you from the decades I served at the CIA, I tried very hard to have an approach devoid of any ideological bias or political bias. So I can tell you, just as a straight shooter here, we are facing the most wickedly complex threats to our national security right now. Iran, China, Russia, North Korea, they make up this century's axis of tyranny. And what we need is this administration to lead with a strategy to deal with those challenges. They're all intertwined, as you've been mentioning today. And we need bipartisan support for that. We need to provide support for Ukraine so they can carry on that fight against Russia. We need the Biden administration to lead a strategy for Iran that strangles their ability to earn money the way they have through oil sales, because all that money goes to their nuclear program, their ballistic missile program, and to fund terrorism. It for sure doesn't go to help their civilian population. But honestly, this is a problem for Democrats and Republicans. And yes, this administration needs to lead, but there's a role for the Congress as well, with oversight and with legislation.
Kash Patel, Dan Hoffman, always a pleasure. Thank you both for joining us.